Welcome to Rad2, another daily reader for Reddit. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. Men, what was your worst date? Mine was a girl that I took to a seafood dinner, decided to get her to-go order for her cousin and son, then add the cost to my bill. Her to-go order for them was shrimp and lobster. When I got the bill, I paid for my dinner plus tip and left her the bill to pay the rest, never talking to her again. I asked a girl out on a date in college. When she showed up, she brought another guy with her. When I was in college, a girl I knew asked us, her gal friends, if we wanted to see a movie together. Once we arrived at the theater, we saw a very confused guy, who was also a part of our larger friend group, standing next to her. After we got our tickets, she grabbed his hand and said they were sitting together, and I blurted out, "Are you guys on a date?" In my defense, I was, and am, an idiot. After the movie, we were all still confused and unsure how the rest of the night would play out. Someone suggested coffee, but the girl grabbed her date's hand, giggled, and said they were taking off. The next day I heard she asked if she could see his dorm. When they got to his floor, on his way to his room, she marched into the common area and sat on one of the couches. He followed, sat down next to her, and she got up and sat in another couch opposite him. She then proceeded to spend the next 3 hours asking him questions about his childhood and family before abruptly standing up and saying she had to go back to her room. She was tired. No, don't walk her back. The next morning she called up one of her girlfriends and complained he didn't make any moves on her. Zero romantic vibes is how she described it. He called me up and said he spent the entire evening in a state of confusion. I am female and I am also confused about what exactly she wanted or expected to happen. Yikes. My date used 2 hours street parking when we went to see Interstellar. We had to leave about 20 minutes before the end of the movie to get to her car in time. I still haven't seen the end. LMAO, this is brutal. 20 minutes before end of movie, we gotta go. Car parking is up. Him, don't make me leave Murph. Showed up to a date, first question she asks, "Oh, how did you get here?" Me, "I rode my bike." Her, "Ugh, I hate cyclists. Whenever I see them I want to run them over in my car." 2 minutes later, her, "So where are you from?" Me, "I grew up in Canada." Her, "I've been to Montreal." Me, "Oh cool. Me too. I really like it. What did you think?" Her, "I hated it. I thought it was dirty and the French people are really rude." 2 minutes later, talking about work. Me, "I was in consulting." Her, "Ugh, me too. I hated it. I didn't like a single consultant I met. We left after 30 minutes and never talked to each other again." Would be a great skit, lol. Halfway through dinner at Denny's. Her choice, not mine. On my birthday, she told me she liked the gay guy on the water polo team, and left me with the bill. Edit. No, I didn't get a free Grand Slam, but the waitress saw what happened and she comped my meal for me when I left. Goddamn bro. Went on 3 dates. Nice dinner, met her mom and all that. During the 3rd date she got a call in the middle of dinner. Finished the call and said, "Sorry, that's my boyfriend. This is the only time he gets to call from Basic." And then she couldn't wrap her head around why I thought that was fricked up. Her reasoning was he was in another state, so she can do whatever she wants. This could probably be a copy-pasta for military members from the opposite perspective at this point. Sad man. What's the name of that marine superstition of the guy who fricks your hooker girlfriend while you're away? Jody's no superstition. Jody's real. An internet date and I were having a great conversation. I mentioned I was in the army for 7+ years. She thanked me for my service and said, "Every girl knows, if you want a smart guy, you date Navy or Air Force. If you want a really great-looking guy who maybe isn't the sharpest needle in the sewing drawer, you date a Marine." Me, "What about the Army, Jane? That's the one you're married to while you're sleeping with the other 3. She's not wrong. Air Force veteran. Rejection. I think she just proposed to him. Quick and easy reply. 18Y. Oh me. 21 years ago. Goes on a date to pub with crush from school. UK. Hour into date she asks to borrow £20. Edit. Which I did give her. 15 minutes later shush is leaving with another guy. I was on a date with a friend's friend. I didn't know her. Only seen her around from time to time. Never talked to her before. So my friend hooked us up for a date. She looked decent, so I went for it. As I picked her up, everything went smooth and fine. Took her to dinner, and as we ate she suddenly started going on about having the craps. She literally did not stop talking about it, even after she took a 22 minutes toilet break. The thing is, I still am a regular at that place, and she was the kind of person that couldn't whisper. So the whole 1.5 hours we'd been there, she probably talked about having the craps for 85% of the time, including toilet time. I really don't think she stopped talking in the toilet. I wasn't embarrassed. I felt more like I disrespected this restaurant with me taking her there. Edit. Wow. Thank you, kind stranger, for my first ever Reddit gold. Hope you're all doing fine. Have a great day. Your second date could have been taking a crap somewhere. Like meet up in crap in the woods, or be adventurous and share hover craps in a dirty pube-infested public restroom. It was at a coffee shop in a library. She showed up, and the very first thing she did was remove her shoes and put them on the table. Later she mentioned how she was obsessed with victims of serial killers and had them tattooed on her body. Jesus, you dodged a bullet. What a psycho. Who puts their shoes on the table? I delivered pizzas to a certain hotel quite regularly, and the cute girl I was at the front desk. I was acquainted with her before through a friend. Asked if I wanted to get a drink. I was very happy for the offer. I was a little heavy at the time and was glad for some company. Turns out it was more of a vent session about her ex for 2 hours. I tried to intersperse something here or there or change the subject, but everything had to be about him. After she left, I felt a sigh of relief, and the bartender put a Jaeger bomb in front of me and poured himself one, then just gave me the "woo, glad that's over" look. It was kinda awkward. Every time I'd go to the hotel for my job and she'd ask to get a drink, I had to pretend to be sober. Edit. Just realized this isn't even close to my worst date. Strap in. A couple years before the story above took place, I had been seeing someone casually. We would normally meet up after each of us got off work, have some drinks and laughs, and go back to mine or her apartment. It was a good deal. We really enjoyed each other's company, and the physical chemistry was really strong. She left on a 6-week trip overseas, and we talked occasionally in that time. I started to miss having her around and thought maybe I should be taking this more seriously. When she got back, we decided to go on our first proper date in the 4 months or so we'd been seeing each other. We go to the restaurant, and before the waiter even brings us our appetizer, she gets strangely hostile. I got her very direct and accusing. "How many people did you sleep with while I was away? Did you sleep with that register girl at your work?" It came out of left field for me, and the answer was no. I didn't know where me and her were at, but it kind of felt wrong to me. Conversation changed and became pleasant again. Then again, completely unprompted, she says, "My friends don't like you." All I could think to say is, "That's too bad, I like them." I'm starting to feel something's pretty wrong at this point. We went to Guardians of the Galaxy and she's still being negative. That movie was stupid. I fell asleep during it. Let's go home and have a drink then. We're at the apt pool, and again it's accusations about work girl. I'm tired at this point, so let's go inside. Argument somehow turns into kissing and more. Not so bad, right? We have sex and I last like an embarrassingly short amount of time. It had been 6 weeks, okay. She was furious, and for once in the date it wasn't unfounded. We go back to the pool with drinks and she's still grilling me about work girl. I finally realized she's projecting a guilty conscience, and I ask, "Did you sleep with somebody?" Her, "I don't know how to answer that." Me, "I don't care if you did. You're not my girlfriend. If you were, you wouldn't have done it." Warning: if you can be grossed out fairly easily, now is the time to stop reading. Her attitude improved after the initial shock. We go back in and start having sex again, but something wrong. Very wrong. I can feel something rubbing against part of the head of my penis during strokes, until eventually it becomes painful. I stop and look down. Part of my head looks like someone took a light sander to it. Think like a scraped knee. She somehow blames me. I calm her down, reach in her cervix and press on the object there. She says she can't feel what I'm pressing on, and I tell her it's a foreign body and she has to see an OBGYN soon. The next morning I drive her back in complete silence for 20 minutes. The only thing I say was, "Please see an OB." I get a text a few hours later saying it was a week-old tampon and they removed it. Spent the next 10 days letting my dick heal and putting antibiotic ointment on it. That was the worst date. What an awesome bartender. I once met up with an online date and went to Red Lobster. Pretty girl, pretty decent convo leading up to our meetup. So I was pretty hopeful. After about 5 minutes in, she pulls out her phone, which is of course normally fine. However, she remained glued to it for the next 20 minutes. I tried to continue the conversation, but her responses became more and more limited. Eventually I got a bit fed up and excused myself to the restroom. Caught the waitress on my way and paid for my portion of the meal. And left without another word. It took her 20 minutes to text me and ask where I went. I told her I didn't want to interrupt the date with her phone. I hope she sat there and reflected on this for a while. Probably didn't, but one can hope. Took her 20 minutes to realize you're gone, damn. Well, maybe she thought he was having the craps. This may be long. Back in 2003, I recently moved to Charlotte, NC. I decided I was going to sign up for Match.com and try online dating for the first time. Started messaging a few girls and eventually made a connection and set up a date. We decided to meet at P.F. Chang's. We had discussed that it was going to be casual. So of course she showed up in an evening gown. First flag, she was super gorgeous and looked great in a gown, but also looked completely out of place. Fight or flight kicked in. But she was hot, so I decided to stay and fight. She stood next to me at the bar and ordered 2 glasses of wine. One she immediately downed. The second she took a sip and turned to me and said, "Hi." Second flag, kind of. We had some awkward small talk and I mentioned her evening gown. She told me she collects them and decided to wear one tonight to dazzle me. Third flag, but I am staying in this. We were seated at a table and as the server walked up, she ordered a bottle of wine. Fourth flag, okay, she likes wine, and she's hot. I'm still in it. We have more awkward small talk and eventually order food. And by the time I have finished my first beer that I had ordered while back at the bar, she already finished the bottle of wine, and orders another. Fifth flag, and now I am planning my escape plan. I stand and ask if she knows where the restrooms are, and as she is pointing in a direction behind me, I turn to look, and I feel a stabbing pain in my right butt cheek, which literally makes me flinch in pain. I grab my butt as I turn to see WTF just bit me. And she is giggling her butt off. Also she is holding a 5-inch long pin, which she just used to stab my butt. Sixth flag, and I am done. Frick this. Don't stick your dick in crazy. I walk to the bathroom and go in one of the stalls. Drop my pants and do an hand sweep of my right butt cheek. And my hand comes back bloody. FML. I use toilet paper and apply pressure to eventually stop the bleeding. I zip up and go stare at myself in the mirror as I wash my hands and have a Pulp Fiction moment, where I say to myself in the mirror, "Okay, go back out there. Tell her this evening is over and that you are going home. Don't freaking ever do this online dating crap no more." So I walk out and find the server. I pay the bill and close the check. I tell the server to hold off serving anything until I am finished talking with my date and I am walking to the door. She agrees. As I walk up to the table, I am noticing people are giving me the hairy eyeball and realize that my date is silently sobbing at the table. For some reason I am the butthole in this situation. Maybe they didn't see the assault on my butt, but maybe only the death glare I gave her as I held my butt cheek. I sat down and asked why is she crying. She said that she freaked up by drinking so much wine and she thought she was being cute and funny, poking me with the hat pin. She said it's an antique and she collects those, too. I told her that I was pretty shocked when she stabbed me with it and that my butt was bleeding where she stabbed me. I told her that this evening got off on the wrong foot and that I had already paid the bill and that we should try it again another time. Not ever. With that, she snapped out of her sobbing quietly and began yelling at me. "Wait, you're leaving. You can't leave me." I said, "Look, the evening has taken a bad turn and I just want to go." She stood up and yelled, "No one leaves me." I leave them, and started marching to the door of the restaurant, forgetting that there were 3 steps she had to walk down towards the entrance of the restaurant. She took a tumble down the stairs, purse flying, pashmina wrapped around her foot, and landed hard on the bottom step. As I stood there, I was like, WTF. Could this get any freaking worse? And it did. She started crying and holding her ankle. Servers and manager came running, as well as an off-duty paramedic. They started working on her there, icing and elevating her left leg, because she might have broken her ankle. The paramedic called 911 and within minutes the ambulance was there. They got her on the gurney and were wheeling her out the door of P.F. Chang's to the ambulance. Throughout this whole scene, I never said a word. I was just an observer, hoping this was all a crappy dream. And hoping that as the ambulance doors closed, I could just walk to my car unnoticed. Nope, not so lucky. She started screaming for her boyfriend, the guy she had been on a date with. Everyone looked at me. I started to say, wait, hold on, I'm not her boyfriend, when I was cut off by the paramedic and he said they are taking her to Presbyterian Medical Center. Follow them. I got in my car and was taking my time, but the ambulance was freaking waiting for me. I pulled up behind them and flashed my lights and they took off. Throughout the drive to the hospital, I was thinking of just going home, but I did feel some responsibility to at least see this nightmare through to the end. It was a light night at the and she was getting the full treatment from everyone because she was gorgeous and dressed in an evening gown. She had x-rays which showed no broken bones, so they put her in an air cast and crutches. When she was released, I was there to take her home. She wasn't going to be able to drive her car, which was still at the restaurant. We drove silently for the most part, except when she had to tell me where to turn. We eventually pulled up to her house, and I had to help her out of the car and up to her front door, where she asked me to come in. I said the evening was eventful, but I have to go. She then said, well, the evening doesn't have to be a complete disaster. Come on in, sit back on the couch and let me take care of you with my mouth. I literally ran off that porch, laughing hysterically like Curly from the Three Stooges until I got in my car and hauled butt out of there. I deleted my account and never used Match.com again. Worst date ever. She would have bit it off. Maybe she collect them too. Met a girl that came from Israel. I live in Germany. She blamed the German for the things they did to her people. Mega awkward. Oh, and she kept talking about her ex too. Talk to her about Palestine. Ooh, I have one. So I went on a date with a girl I work with. I'm white. She was half Indian. The date itself went really well. Dinner, drinks, etc. Then it comes to the end of the night and her Lyft turns up to take her home. It was her mum, not a problem. We were only early 20s at the time. But it turns out, her mum was massively racist to this day. I've no idea what she screamed at me and the girl as she dragged her away and into the car, as it was all in high-pitched Hindi. Other than she called me a white frickhead. Not the worst thing I've been called. I asked for an explanation a few days later and it turns out the girl's father was white. And even though they divorced over 8 years prior, her mother was still somewhat bitter. We didn't have another date. This is a real sign of the times, but I had to reread this a couple of times before it sunk in that you said lift and not lift. I was like, geez, what are the odds that she called a frickin' lift and her mom was the driver? 2009 was seeing a girl for a couple weeks and took her across the state to see Keith Urban and Taylor Swift. Paid for tickets and paid for everything. We get to I Wanna Kiss a Girl in Keith's set and she says, I wish I found you attractive so I could kiss you. So then we had to finish the show and had a 2.5 hour drive back home. Tanya, you be word. Is there room in your life for Jesus Christ? Why are we going for a threesome? Thanks for watching Rad 2. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. If you like these videos, check out the original Rad channel.